The silent crisis no one talks about. What happens when older men stop masturbating? A silent, invisible breakdown. A slow unraveling of a man's strength, his hormones, his sense of self. Not because of disease, not from accident, but from neglect. And one of the most overlooked forms of that neglect? Stopping masturbation. A dangerous myth we've taught older men. For decades, society has sent a clear message to men. As you get older, sex becomes less important. Masturbation? Immature. Unnecessary. Shameful, even. But what if this belief isn't just outdated, it's dangerous? What if choosing to stop masturbating after 60 doesn't just affect your bedroom? It affects your body, your mind, and your very identity. Dr. Mojit Kara, a board-certified urologist with over 40 years of experience working with aging men, has seen it happen too many times. He sat across from retired farmers, teachers, veterans, and grandfathers. Men who thought they were doing the right thing by giving up what they assumed they no longer needed. But instead of peace, they found emptiness. Instead of wisdom, they faced regret. Because when you stop masturbating in old age, your body doesn't pause. It begins to break down. Silently. Irreversibly. And by the time you notice, it might already be too late. The first warning sign: your body forgets how to function. Let's start with the most obvious, but often misunderstood, consequence: sexual function. You may think, I don't need it anymore, or I'm past that stage of life. But here's the truth. Your penis isn't just an organ of pleasure. It's a complex system of nerves, blood vessels, and tissue, part of your circulatory system, part of your nervous system, and yes, part of your identity. When you stop using it, especially for long periods, your body interprets that as a signal. This function is no longer necessary. So it begins to shut it down. Blood flow slows. Oxygen delivery drops. Tissue stiffens. Nerves dull. And over time, the ability to achieve and maintain an erection fades. Not suddenly, but slowly, like rust creeping through steel. Think of it this way. If you stopped walking for 6 months, would your legs still work the same? Would your muscles respond instantly? Probably not. You'd lose strength, coordination, even memory of how to walk properly. Your penis is no different. After 60, it doesn't go into standby. It begins to atrophy. And once that process starts, reversing it becomes harder and harder. One patient Dr. Kara saw, a man in his early 70s, hadn't had a spontaneous erection in over a year. He came in confused, frustrated, and quietly devastated. He didn't understand how it had happened so quickly. The hidden cost: hormonal collapse without warning. Now let's talk about something even deeper than performance: your hormones. Specifically, testosterone. Yes, even in your 60s or 70s, your testicles are still capable of producing testosterone. Not as much as in your 20s, of course, but enough to keep you feeling strong, focused, and masculine. But here's the catch. Testosterone production is stimulated by activity. And one of the most natural, non-pharmaceutical ways to trigger that stimulation? Sexual arousal. And yes, masturbation. Every time you become aroused, your brain sends signals that tell your body, we're still in the game. Keep producing. Dopamine rises. The hypothalamus activates. Your testicles receive the message. Keep making testosterone. But when you stop altogether, when weeks or months go by without any form of sexual release, your body receives a different message. We don't need this anymore. And so it scales back. Not dramatically at first. Just small changes. A little less energy. A little more fatigue. Mood swings. Trouble concentrating. Loss of appetite. Withdrawal. Most men chalk it up to aging. To stress. To bad sleep. But in reality, it's something far more serious. A hormonal collapse. And once that collapse begins, the ripple effects spread far beyond the bedroom. Men with low testosterone feel tired, depressed, irritable, disconnected. Their muscles weaken. Their bones soften. Their risk of heart attack increases. One of Dr. Kara's patients, a retired firefighter, described it best. "Doc, I don't even recognize the man in the mirror." That's not vanity. That's grief. Because losing your testosterone isn't just about losing sex drive. It's about losing a vital part of who you are. And the worst part? Once your hormone levels drop significantly, recovery can take years and thousands of dollars in therapy. But all of it could have been prevented with just a little education and a simple habit. The hidden danger: prostate problems you never saw coming. Now let's talk about something every man fears, but few ever connect to their habits. Prostate issues. Difficulty urinating. Frequent nighttime trips to the bathroom. Pain in the lower back. Pressure in the pelvis. These symptoms don't come on suddenly. They build slowly, silently, until they start interfering with daily life. And again, most men don't make the connection. They blame age, blame their bladder, maybe even blame their diet. But the real culprit? Prostate congestion caused by a lack of ejaculation. Here's how it works. Your prostate is an active gland. It produces and stores seminal fluid. That fluid is meant to move, to flush out, to renew. But when you stop ejaculating, especially for long periods, that fluid stagnates. It thickens, pressure builds, inflammation creeps in, and before you know it, you're waking up multiple times a night. You're sitting uncomfortably. You're dealing with pain that makes you wonder if something's seriously wrong. Some men develop chronic prostatitis, an ongoing, painful inflammation that's hard to treat and even harder to live with. Others end up needing invasive procedures just to feel normal again. And perhaps most concerning of all, research, including a well-known Harvard study, has shown that regular ejaculation may help reduce the risk of prostate cancer. Why? Because when the prostate is regularly emptied, it reduces the buildup of potentially harmful substances. But when that fluid sits for months, years, the risks increase. One patient Dr. Kara treated had gone nearly 2 years without any sexual activity. He told Dr. Kara he thought he was past that stage of life. But when his PSA levels spiked and tests revealed significant prostate swelling, he realized too late what he'd ignored. This wasn't about lust. This was about health. About understanding that your body doesn't stop needing care just because you hit 60. In fact, it needs more attention, more respect, especially when it comes to your prostate. The emotional toll. What happens when older men lose their connection to themselves? In part 1, we explored how the body begins to shut down when a man stops masturbating after 60, from erectile dysfunction to hormonal collapse to prostate complications. But what many men don't realize is that the most devastating consequence doesn't show up on blood tests or scans. It shows up in their eyes, in the way they look at themselves in the mirror and no longer recognize who's looking back. It shows up in the silence between sentences, in the hesitation before laughter, in the long pauses during conversations with loved ones. Because when you stop engaging in self-pleasure, especially for years, it doesn't just affect your hormones or your prostate. It affects your soul. The slow fade of joy, how masturbation protects mental health. Let's talk about dopamine. Not the kind that comes from winning money or watching your favorite team win the game. I'm talking about the deep, biological, hardwired release of pleasure chemicals that happen when a man masturbates. Dopamine, oxytocin, endorphins. These aren't just feel-good chemicals. They're your brain's natural antidepressants. They regulate mood, reduce stress, and keep anxiety at bay. And when you stop triggering them, you start losing more than just sexual function. You start losing joy. One of my patients, a retired school principal in his early 70s, came to me not because of physical symptoms, but because he said he felt like a ghost in his own life. He described waking up every morning without motivation. He didn't want to go out. He didn't want to see friends. He didn't want to do anything. His wife had passed away 5 years earlier, and since then, he'd stopped all forms of intimacy, including masturbation. I thought it was the right thing to do, he told me. Like I owed her that much. That once she was gone, I should just stop. What he didn't know was that by cutting himself off from pleasure, he was also cutting himself off from one of the last remaining sources of emotional stability. We ran some basic hormone tests, and while his testosterone wasn't critically low, his mood scores were alarming. He scored high on clinical depression scales, and when I asked him if he ever considered therapy, he laughed bitterly. Who would understand? He asked. A therapist? My kids? I'm supposed to be the strong one. That line broke my heart. Because too many older men carry that same burden. They believe that strength means silence. That maturity means giving up things they used to enjoy. That aging means letting go of pleasure. But what they don't realize is that pleasure isn't indulgence. Pleasure is survival. Especially as we get older. When our bodies slow down, when our hormones dip, when our social circles shrink, the ability to feel good, even alone, becomes one of the most powerful tools we have to fight depression. And when we give that up, We open the door to something far worse than loneliness. We invite despair, the quiet crisis of identity, losing who you are. There's a moment that haunts me. It happened a few years ago in my office. A man in his mid-70s sat across from me, eyes red, voice trembling. He had just come from a support group meeting for widowers. He said he went hoping to find connection, understanding, maybe even hope. Instead, he found silence. No one talked about sex. No one talked about desire. No one talked about the parts of themselves they missed. So he did. He mentioned that he still masturbated occasionally. And the room turned cold. One man called it disrespectful. Another said, "Why would you need that now?" And suddenly, he felt like he'd committed a crime. He left the meeting shaken. And a few days later, he stopped altogether. He told me, "I thought maybe they were right. Maybe I was clinging to something I should have let go of." But weeks turned into months. And slowly, he began to change. He became more irritable, more anxious, more distant. And then one day, he looked in the mirror and barely recognized himself. "I didn't just lose my wife," he told me. "I lost myself." That's the hidden cost of giving up masturbation. It doesn't just affect your body. It erodes your identity. Because for many men, sexuality isn't just about performance or attraction. It's about being alive. About knowing that you are still capable of feeling, of desiring, of expressing. And when you cut that off, especially in old age, it doesn't just disappear. It leaves a void. And voids don't stay empty for long. They fill with doubt, with fear, with grief. The hidden link to cognitive decline. Why stopping masturbation may accelerate aging. Now, let's talk about something even fewer people discuss. Cognitive health. As men age, concerns about memory, focus, and mental clarity grow. Alzheimer's, dementia, slowed thinking. We worry about these things. We talk about diet, exercise, brain games. But rarely do we connect them to something as simple and as overlooked as masturbation. Yet the science is clear. Sexual activity, even solo, has been linked to improved cognitive function, better memory retention, and slower rates of mental decline. Why? Because arousal and orgasm stimulate the brain. They trigger the release of neurotransmitters like dopamine and serotonin, chemicals that enhance mood, focus, and neuroplasticity. They increase blood flow to the brain, which keeps neural pathways active and sharp. And they promote relaxation, reducing cortisol, the stress hormone that's been linked to accelerated aging and cognitive impairment. In fact, a study published in the Journal of Aging and Health found that sexually active older adults scored higher on memory tests and showed better verbal fluency than those who were abstinent. And this effect wasn't limited to partnered sex. It included masturbation, which means that when you stop engaging in sexual release, especially for long periods, you're not just losing pleasure. You're potentially accelerating brain aging. One of my patients, a retired engineer in his late 70s, came in complaining of memory lapses. He couldn't remember names. He forgot appointments. He misplaced keys constantly. His family was worried. He was scared. After ruling out other causes, I gently asked him about his sexual habits. He paused. Then he admitted he hadn't masturbated in over a year. He thought it was irrelevant. Until I explained the research. Until I told him how vital regular stimulation is for keeping the brain engaged. He was stunned. "I never thought about it that way," he said. And when I encouraged him to reintroduce a gentle, consistent routine, something changed. Not overnight, but within a few months, his memory improved. He started recalling names again. He remembered conversations more clearly. And he said something that stuck with me. "I feel sharper. Like I woke up." That's the power of staying connected, of honoring your body, of recognizing that even in old age, pleasure isn't just a luxury. It's medicine. For your mind, for your memory, for your very sense of self. Reclaiming your vitality. Practical steps to safely restart masturbation after 60. If you've made it this far, you're likely asking yourself one of two things. I want to try again, but I don't know how. Or, I'm scared. What if I've waited too long? Let me reassure you, it's never too late. Your body still remembers how to feel. Your brain still knows how to respond. And your health still depends on you choosing to care. The truth is, restarting masturbation after years of abstinence, especially after 60, isn't always easy. There are physical changes, emotional hang-ups, and years of shame or misinformation that might make the idea feel foreign, even uncomfortable. but I've helped thousands of men do it. Men who once believed they were past this stage of life. Men who thought they'd lost something vital forever. And guess what? They didn't just reclaim sexual function. They reclaimed energy, clarity, joy, connection, and most importantly, themselves. In this final section, I'll walk you through a step-by-step guide to safely and respectfully reintroducing self-pleasure into your life. Not as an indulgence, but as a form of self-care. Step 1. Understand that this isn't about performance, it's about maintenance. One of the biggest mental hurdles older men face is the belief that masturbation has to look a certain way: fast, intense, orgasmic. That's simply not true. At this stage of life, masturbation isn't about chasing climax. It's about maintaining circulation, preserving nerve sensitivity, protecting prostate health, stimulating hormone production, and above all, reconnecting with your body. Think of it like brushing your teeth. You don't do it because it feels amazing every time. You do it because it prevents decay, because it keeps your mouth healthy, because it protects something valuable, your smile. Masturbation works the same way. It's not about how good it feels in the moment. It's about what it prevents over time. So let go of expectations. There's no race, no scorecard, no standard to meet. Just gentle, consistent attention to your body and respect for what it needs. Step 2. Start slowly. Don't push through pain or discomfort. Many older men hesitate because they assume their bodies won't respond the way they used to. Maybe arousal takes longer. Maybe erections aren't as firm. Maybe there's discomfort or dryness. All of that is normal, but none of it means you should give up. What it does mean is that you need to be gentle. Start slowly. Use lubrication. Take your time. And listen closely to what your body tells you. If something hurts, stop. If you feel pressure or pain, back off. This isn't about pushing through, it's about reawakening. Here's what I tell my patients. Don't treat this like a workout. Treat it like a massage. Focus on touch, sensation, and comfort, not performance. You're not trying to set records. You're trying to stay healthy. And that starts with honoring your body's limits. Step 3. Use lubrication generously. Protect against micro tears and inflammation. As we age, our skin becomes thinner and more sensitive. Natural lubrication decreases. Tissues become less elastic, which means that going without lube, especially if you haven't been active in a while, can cause micro tears, irritation, or even infection. That's why I always recommend using a water-based lubricant generously. It's not a weakness. It's wisdom. It's like wearing gloves when you work with rough tools. You don't do it because you're weak. You do it because you value protection. Same principle applies here. A little extra help goes a long way toward making sure your experience is comfortable, safe, and sustainable. Step 4. Try different techniques. Find what works for you now. You may find that the way you used to masturbate doesn't work the same anymore. That's okay. Your body has changed, and so can your technique. Try different speeds, different pressures, different positions. Some men find that lying down is more comfortable. Others prefer sitting upright. Some enjoy using warm towels or heating pads before starting. It helps increase blood flow and makes everything feel more responsive. Some use toys or devices designed for erectile support or stimulation. There's no one-size-fits-all approach. What matters is that you're doing something. Even light touch can stimulate circulation and signal to your body that this function still matters. Step 5. Make it a routine. Even once a week can make a difference. I often hear men say, "I don't feel the urge anymore." And that's understandable. After months or years of inactivity, desire can fade. But remember, desire follows action, not the other way around. So don't wait for the mood to strike. Create the habit first. Schedule a time once or twice a week, just like you would schedule a doctor's appointment or a medication reminder. Make it part of your self-care routine. Set a reminder on your phone. Block out 10 minutes. Then show up for yourself. Over time, your body will respond. Sensitivity will return. Blood flow will improve. Hormones will stabilize. And soon, what once felt awkward will start to feel natural again. Step 6. Address erectile issues with patience, not shame. If you're struggling with erectile dysfunction, don't panic. It's common at this age and often reversible with consistency. But if you've gone a long time without any stimulation, it's normal for your body to need some time to relearn. Talk to your doctor if needed. Consider low-dose medications like Cialis or Viagra under medical supervision. not for recreational use, but for rehabilitation. These meds can help restore blood flow and give your body the chance to rebuild function. But don't rely solely on pills. Pair them with regular stimulation. That's how real recovery happens. Step 7. Be gentle with yourself emotionally. This is healing, not indulgence. Many older men struggle with guilt or shame when they restart masturbation, especially if they've been taught that it's inappropriate or unnecessary in old age. But let me remind you, this isn't about lust. It's about life. It's about preserving your vitality, your independence, your sense of self. You deserve to feel whole, to feel strong, to feel human. And if society told you otherwise, then it was wrong. You are allowed to care for your body. You are allowed to seek pleasure. You are allowed to protect your health, even in ways that others don't talk about. So give yourself permission. Speak kindly to yourself. Celebrate small victories. We'll also answer the questions many of you might be too embarrassed to ask your doctor. And most importantly, we'll finish with a powerful call to action. Because this isn't just about sex. It's about staying strong, staying connected, staying alive, body, mind, and spirit. Take action today, because tomorrow may be too late. If this message spoke to you, even just a little, then it's time to make a choice. Will you continue letting shame, fear, or outdated beliefs rob you of your vitality? Or will you take one small step today toward reconnecting with your body, your hormones, your prostate, and your sense of self? Here's what I encourage you to do. Set a reminder once or twice a week to check in with your body. Use lubrication generously to ensure comfort and prevent injury. Be gentle with yourself. Progress matters more than perfection. Talk to your doctor if you experience pain, discomfort, or persistent issues. Celebrate small wins. Every moment of connection counts. Because in the end, your health is your responsibility. And you owe it to yourself to live fully, not just longer. Thank you for reading. You're not done yet. And as long as you're still here, there's still time to fight for your health, your happiness, and your humanity.